To truly immerse yourself in a movie, to go on a journey and be delivered to another world, you have to suspend your disbelief. You have to forget all of the distractions around you, and you have to believe. A movie company wanted to blow up the factory at Franklin, explode it into bits. It was to be destroyed to achieve a moment, not a legacy. Every good story has a hero, someone who goes from an unknown world, meets a challenge, conquers obstacles, and then arrives in a new known world.
I mean, even in popular novel writing, you see, the main character is a hero or a heroine. That is to say, someone who has found or achieved or done something beyond the normal range of achievement and experience. A hero properly is someone who has given his life to something bigger than himself or other than himself.
For the factory at Franklin, this hero, saving the factory from certain demise, is Calvin LeHew. Calvin is a storyteller, a force. We spoke to him and listened to his philosophical musings under a giant chandelier in a space at the factory that is changing form right before our eyes. The factory is becoming a new world, again. I was brought into the story of the factory by Bryce McCloud. Bryce is a true artist, an artist of the people and for the people. He's a community builder and a joy maker. You can see his touch in the new life of the factory. You can feel it. It's a new energy. The spirit of what he's building is profound, connecting those who created the factory to those who will experience it in the future. We are both, Bryce and I think, observers, though, ultimately, as much as creators. I think perhaps one necessitates the other. So for this story, I really just want to talk about Calvin, and let's go back to the beginning of the rethinking of the factory in its first inception. It was not an easy path. Calvin is so optimistic, it's nearly impossible. He's so motivated, it makes you stop and think. He's so in the clouds, it's inspiring and grounding. Calvin had a vision. He was in no place financially or otherwise to manifest this vision. One thing about Calvin, though, he works in ways that are beyond banknotes and the rules of the game. Calvin's factory is not the factory that we necessarily see and experience. I like to think of it as Calvin's mind is a factory. To cultivate this incessant drive to conquer his fears and achieve the impossible and build up from small things to big things, he did what anyone would do, right? He played with snakes.
I was afraid of snakes back when I was a little kid. But I learned that I could start off with worms, picking up worms, even though when I was afraid of them. And then small snakes. I could even get a rattlesnake and copperhead later on, very carefully pick them up.
So he built his tolerance for slithering creatures, but Calvin also studied the mind. He mastered the art of bringing about more art, the art of manifestation. I think Calvin goes about it in a way that is simple, but also kind of monastic, a very almost stubborn, focused monk of sorts.
So then I'm studying all of this about the mind and how you set a goal, believe in it, have faith, and act. You could do, be, and have anything you desired.
Okay, so how do you get from amateur snake handling for character building to an actual building? Well, you start small, just like Calvin did when he saw 7 buildings for sale back when in downtown Franklin. And when Franklin was, in his eye, in danger of becoming Anytown, USA.
I bought 7 buildings at 4th and Main, where Mary D's is, on back to the alley there, and then 4 on Main Street. $350,000, 7 buildings. Today, any one would be $3 million at least. That was a great venture there. It was fabulous. Yes, we had our problems and so forth, but it transformed downtown Franklin, tourism and all. And our theme was, let's don't let Franklin become Anytown, USA. Let's be different. Let's keep the original old buildings and so forth.
So all in one deal, Calvin set the table for Franklin to be saved, thus transformed with a new vision. His vision of a new world became the shared vision of others, and now Franklin's downtown is a one-of-a-kind, a unique slice of small-town America, growing and preserving all the while. It is far from Anytown, USA. But Calvin let go of those 7 buildings before that story fully came to be, because of course, once you activate powers of manifestation, and you have a vision for community building and preservation, and perhaps a taste for danger, you can't resist another opportunity or calamity, whichever it shakes out to be, or maybe a little bit of both. The sequel to this franchise opened with a phone call.
I get a call from the Heritage Foundation, and Calvin, we have a problem. Jameson Bedding Place here, the county owns this. They were asking, I think, $400,000 or something for 17 buildings over 300,000 square feet. They are getting ready to let a film company come in and blow some of the buildings up for film effects. Even though it's not all that historic, don't you think we ought to save those? And I said, yes, absolutely.
So there he goes again. Calvin's inner fire, like an upward waterfall coming from a hydrant on a street corner in the summer with no shut-off valve.
I told the mayor, I'll take it. And he said, to make it legal, we're going to have to advertise it 3 times in the paper and had the highest bid. So I was wanting it then, and I was the highest bidder at $1 million I paid for all of this, the highest bidder. But no bank would loan me the money. They said, it's just, wow, how can you make anything like that? It's going to be so expensive and all. 4 banks turned me down. I went to First Tennessee Bank. Rick Moody was president then. And they knew I had a lot of success in all my businesses and all that. And that was the big thing. But they said, we'll loan you the money, number 1, if you put $1 million of your unborrowed money in it. And number 2, we'll start up front and go back as we lease it. The other thing was quit flying experimental aircraft. I think she had something to do with this, because I couldn't fly anymore then, except in my dreams.
That was one of the requirements?
That was one of the requirements, yes, because I'd lived through 6 major, back then it was like 4 major plane crashes. Since then it's been 6 now. But now I fly in my dreams. But that was the brief history of how I got here. Every development had its problems, but if you look up, don't look down, and have the faith and belief, you can create things like this, even greater.
Oh, wait. I forgot to mention, yes, Calvin was a pilot of experimental aircraft and survived several, incidents. Perhaps this speaks to his thirst for risk-taking and aversion to standing still. I can relate. I'm also a pilot. Every pilot has to tell you that they're also a pilot.
Number 23 Kilo, runway 2, clear for the option.
Clear for the option, runway 2, 2123 Kilo.
Calvin and I related in this way around aviation. There's something dire about being compelled to fly. An irrational obsession. That said, I aim to have 0 incidents, not 6, and am less likely to fly anything in the experimental category, but I digress. It struck me how he gave up something that he loved, aviation, something that was a part of him, his passion. He gave it up to reach his ultimate goal of buying the factory property and making something of it for the people.
I always had to sell my farm or the project that I had going that was successful, sell all of that to go to the next project like this.
You cashed all your dreams in.
Yes.
For your future.
And we've been on the edge of bankruptcy 3 times. If you don't go to the edge, you don't know how far you can go.
Okay, so let's take a second here. Wait a minute. Why the factory? Why give up so much for this place? The history of the factory is a heavy book, too much to lift in this short film. But for those who don't know, the factory was in fact a factory, at one time producing stoves and later mattresses and bedding, and was a hub in the community. So for a place to have meaning and not just be a place, it has to be something no builder can provide, something that compels and defines us all. Memories.
A lot of my friends' father and grandfather worked here. It was a family type thing. The memories of them working here, and it was just, to me, it was, and the Heritage Foundation, worth saving. This, even though it wasn't all that historic, it was the largest employer of people here in Williamson County. And that meant something to me too. It's like, why blow it up or do away with it? And nobody wanted it, and I could see the vision of it working.
As much as Calvin is and was an entrepreneur, his vision is driven by human connection. I think he proved that being focused on humanity and connection can be and is profitable. From the beginning, he wanted something different for the factory. When Bryce asked him this question, the simplest, purest motivation came from Calvin without hesitation.
You were saying this earlier to me. You didn't want a Walmart street.
No.
What kind of vision did you like? What did you see happening here?
I wanted artists, creative things, and I knew that by the law of attraction, so forth, good things would happen as miracles, more and miracles. Serendipitous things happen, and people will call you.
Now Calvin has a lifetime of memories, some harrowing, some magical, and everything in between. His optimism and vision have not wavered, however. He sees what is happening in the next iteration of the factory, and while he's not picking up snakes anymore, he sees the promise of the future here.
They interviewed me when they first bought this, and they told me some things that they were wanting to do with this, and now after seeing some of this and what they're planning to do, I'm so impressed. I just feel so good that I did help save this building, because it's going to be a great thing. As of the making of this little documentary, the new vision at the factory is in progress. You can see it happening all around. You can feel it. The team of people making this happen are as driven as Calvin to make something happen here, something human, something authentic, something special. We asked Calvin what he thought of everything, what he's learned of the plans, what he's seen in progress as it's been happening so far. Being the man of infinite stories, energy, and vision, he told us he had no words. I don't have the words to describe it all, but what you're creating here is beyond the physical and going into more of the person that has this feeling of this place that other places don't have.
I loved being able to film and document Calvin's words. We got to know Calvin that day, and he got to know Bryce and myself a little bit. We told him of the community that we aim to build here, the spirit of creativity that we want abound here, and the many ideas we have about how to manifest that. Maybe more worms of ideas than snakes, but he still seemed to be pleased, if not relieved, to see we were as irrationally motivated as he was to make something happen at the factory that connects people and inspires.
When 2 or more people come together like y'all are doing, it's not just you that's going to come up with it. She will come up with it. He will come up. But coming together, you're going to create something that's beyond either one of you. And that's what I did here by having right people to show up at the right time. And you're going to create something that evolves into something even greater than what you wanted to start with.
Calvin is a force, one we were honored to be in the presence of, and we hope to carry this light of inspiration on at the factory. As we sat under the giant chandelier in its temporary home while construction is underway, of course, Calvin took pause and directed us to contemplate what that light means to all of us.
This is right here now, the light, and light is so important in our life. Light means so much, but here, that large symbol, I'm sitting here and watching this. Is it ironic that we are here in this building talking about this?
The irony of the moment did not escape him or myself. He sees the past, present, and future all at the same time, it seems. And in this moment, as the torch of creativity at the factory was being passed, he led us to see it even in that moment. A memory I will always have because a film company with a bad idea and a man who challenged himself to pick up snakes and all the tracks that have led us to the factory.
Whatever you set your mind to, if you have the faith and belief, things start working. The law of attraction starts working. Chill bumps come to me right now because I've done this so many times. As you set your goal, believe in it, have faith, and act. That's the main thing. Take an action.
Come find the smiles and the celebration of the moment to feel the irrational optimism that these walls speak, and never, ever get into an airplane with Calvin.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Okay, why don't you go in and look in the animal room?
Okay, pardon the interruption, but we have more to tell of this amazing story.
Oh, good. Some of them died, they drowned, good.
There is no Calvin, no factory without Marilyn. As their coffee mugs say, there is Mr. Right and there's Mrs. Always Right.
Go out and buy a set of these cups. Calvin tells people, I was so happy when she gave me this cup. But then I saw the other cup.
Keep that one hidden, and then on the right day you pull it out.
No, it's always showing.
You know it's business.
It's always showing. How many people want wine? Raise your hand.
So before you go, we offer you this. Look out. Marilyn LeHew's recipe for a good life.
I call this my killer knife. And it is a killer. These recipes are for you to take with you.
Thank you.
Look toward the future.
The things at the restaurant that the people liked were cream chicken over cornbread. They loved our meatloaf. But Calvin and I have been talking about the environment and trying to save the planet. And we really, all people, we need to be thinking about eating more vegetarian and cutting out on killing the animals for meat. So I thought, since this might be something that would be 40 years from now, I would like to promote. And we're going to make vegetarian lasagna. And when you put these roasted English walnuts in it, I mean, you would think it's meat.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of your tools.
This is my favorite knife in this kitchen. And I have one in Florida at each house. As soon as I get there, the first thing I check is my knife there still there, because other people go and use it. The hot water heater is way on the other side of the house. It takes forever to get hot water. Here we have instant hot water.
Be your own backup plan.
all this males in this room, don't take this too literally. But I want every woman, like when she gets out of high school, out of college, get a job, move out of your parents' house, and work and be independent and support yourself. And then when you get married, if you don't want to be with the husband or he's running around, you can leave him because you know you supported yourself before and you can do it again. So that is advice to to women before they get married. Hear that?
Tell it like it is.
People know where I stand. I am black and white. I'm not afraid to tell anybody my thoughts, depending who I'm around.
Live your own life.
Get out in nature and get off your cell phones and computers, and also get off of Facebook and pay attention to your own life and don't look at what other people's lives are. I don't want to know about other people's business. I have enough in my own life to take care of.
Be hopeful for the future.
I am so glad that Holiday's Properties got it. I'm happy. Oh, it's going to be the top tourist attraction in Nashville.
Do what it takes.
And failure is not an option. That's the main thing. You do everything. Failure is not an option. So you got to do what it takes so you succeed. That's it.
Be grateful.
I feel blessed and grateful. Yes, I'm going to be a little part of Calvin's film that is so long.
Where are you sitting, Marilyn? I'll sit next.
I'm sitting there.
And then Calvin sits.
He sits at the end. This is not mine. Mine's going to be one of these small ones. Okay. Calvin, are the doggies okay? I guess they are. The sweetest tea, the sweet tea's in the bigger pitcher. Okay. The tea that's not sweet, not as sweet, is in the smaller picture.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.